Unit 5B, Lesson 1, Identifying, Measuring, and Classifying Angles. So today we're starting Unit 5B. This is the second half of that geometry unit. The first half was all about transformations, and the second half is all about angles and triangles. And we're going to be able to put a little bit of algebra into that as well, but it's mostly that second half of the geometry unit. Now, before this lesson, you did a unit preview about triangles that helped you to remember the properties of triangles and how we classify them based on their angles and also based on their sides. So this little page, which was also an attachment, is just a reminder that when we're talking about angles, remember triangles are special, and that all the angles of every type of triangle, doesn't matter which type, how small, how big they are, every single triangle, if you add up all three angles on the inside, they equal 180 degrees. All right, and then you have to remember that there's two ways to classify triangles. We can first classify them based on their sides, and that is as scalene, isosceles, or equilateral, or we can classify them based on their angles as acute, right, obtuse, or equiangular. So let's look at the difference here. The scalene is the length of all of them are different. The isosceles is that two of them are equal and then one of them is different. And then the equilateral is when all three sides are exactly the same length. All right, based on angles on the inside, the acute means that every single angle, all three of them are less than 90, but remember together they all add up to 180. The right triangle, it means it has one angle that is exactly 90 degrees, and that's usually indicated with this little square in the corner. So you probably remember that. If you see that, it's a right triangle. It means that it has one angle that is exactly equal to 90. The obtuse means that it has one angle that is greater than 90, and if this one's greater than 90, then the other two can't be. All right, so that's called an obtuse. And then our equiangular is whenever we have all three angles that are equal, and that would also go with an equilateral triangle. So all the sides are the same. Equiangular would mean that all three angles are the same. So using this information, we want you to complete this warm-up where you solve for x. All right, so the first problem, you're going to solve for x. So if you know these two angles, can you find this one? Solve for y and number 2. And then number 3, you're going to solve for m. So go ahead and pause this video. Remember, you're going to use that sheet of paper to help you. And remember that if you know that all three of them equal 90 and you know two of them, you should be able to find that third one. When you're finished, press play and go over the answers with me. All right, so starting with this first one, let's see if we can find the measure of angle x. So we know that this angle here is 49, and this angle has a square in the corner, so this one has to be 90. So since I know these two, I'm going to start by adding them up. So we're going to start with the first math problem, which will be 90 plus 49. And 90 plus 49 is 139. And then the next step is to subtract that from 180 because all three of these equal 180. So we're going to take 180 and subtract 139. And you can use your calculator with this, so make sure that you're using it for your accuracy. And so we get x equals 41 degrees. All right, so this one is 41 degrees. All right, let's try number 2. Find y in this obtuse triangle. So these two angles were given and this one were not. So we start by adding up the two that we know. So 43 plus 46. Again, use your calculator to check your math. And I get 89. Then we're going to subtract that sum from 180 because altogether the three angles have to equal 180. And we get 91. So y equals 91 degrees. Because 43 plus 46 plus 91 equals 180. Over here we had 41 plus 90 plus 49 equals 180. All right, last one, find m. So we're going to start by adding the two angles that we know. This one's an acute triangle, meaning that all the angles are less than 90. All right, so we're going to start by adding 59 plus 47. And that's 106. And then we're going to take 180 and subtract 106. which is 74. So M equals 74 degrees. All right, great job. I hope you did well on that. One more time, just to review quickly. Right triangle, because this one has a right angle in it that's exactly 90 degrees. This one's an obtuse because it has one angle that is greater than 90. And then this is acute because all the angles are less than 90. All right, on the next page, you'll see the continuation of this warm-up, which is 3 more problems using your information about triangles. This time it has to pertain to the side lengths. So this one's a scalene triangle, okay, which means that all 3 of them are going to be different. The middle one is an isosceles, which means 2 angles are going to be the same, so you're finding R here. And then the third one is your equilateral triangle, which is when all 3 sides are the same, so you're finding Y. So you're going to solve for T, you're going to solve for R, and you're going to tell me what Y equals. So pause the video and do these 3 problems, and when you're finished, press play and check and go over them with me. All right, so this first one we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to start by adding 78 plus 37. And we get 115. And then we're going to take 180 and subtract 115. And that gives us 65. So T equals 65 degrees, because 65 plus 78 plus 37 equals 180. Example in the middle, the isosceles. Well, this time we don't know 2 of them to add them up. We know that 2 of them are going to be the same, but we don't know what that is. So this time we're going to start a little differently. We still know that all 3 of these numbers are going to have to add up to 180. So let's start with 180 and take away, subtract the 56, the angle that we know. So we're going to go ahead and start with the total this time and subtract the 56. So 180 minus 56, use your calculator, you get 124. And then we're going to take that 124, and that's going to be between these 2 angles. And since they both equal the same, we know that there has to be 124 divided by 2. And that gives us 62. And then you could double check it by adding 62 plus 62 plus 56, and that should add up to 180, and it does. All right, so now we have the last one, our equilateral, where all sides and all angles are the same. So this time we know that each of them are going to be all equal to 180, and there's 3 of them, so I'm just going to take 180 and divide it by 3. And that gives me 60. So then we know that Y equals 60 degrees. So you can plug it in and see if it works. Does 60 plus 60 plus 60 equal 180? Yes, it does. So this is your equilateral triangle. Good job.